Hello, my fellow strugglers. I love anime. No fucking way. So of course I also love consuming anime content on the internet that goes straight to my thighs. And I've seen a lot of videos about anime throughout the years, just thousands upon thousands upon thousands of fellow nerds with their cum-stained anime figure backgrounds dissecting anime characters, anime arcs, animation in anime clothing choices, power levels, sizes. But something I've never really seen touched upon in the way I'd like is anime soundtracks. Like, don't get me wrong, of course there's great videos out there that talk about certain songs from certain soundtracks, but I've never really seen anybody do a whole dissection of an entire soundtrack, you know, track by track kind of thing. Yes, we are starting another series on the channel. We had the analysis of characters series, we got the anime influence series, and now we're doing the anime soundtrack series. We're in the series arc of this channel. And before anything, I think it's important to mention that I am not a bald, thick boy with great teeth and various flannels. I'm just your favorite internet shithead who also happens to like himself some beeps and boops that make me bop. This is not a review or a critique. I can tell you ahead of time, I f***ing love this soundtrack. I sleep with the vinyl every night. If I were to give it a score, it'd probably be like a strong demon horse to a light guts jawline. This is a video more about just going through the soundtrack, you know, appreciating it, just basking in its glory. Give it its flowers, you know, love it, cherish it, take it out on a nice candlelit dinner maybe. But before we can really, you know, spread the sweaty, slippery demon cheeks of this soundtrack, you know, going track by track, I think we have to talk about the main composer behind that soundtrack. Susumu Hirasawa. His music has been labeled many different things. You can't just stick it to one type of genre. It's been called progressive rock, it's been called experimental, ambient, electronica. Me personally, I would just call it f***ing amazing. Because the amount of nut-busting, thigh-gyrating, ass-jiggling bops that Susumu has made for anime soundtracks is insane. Pretty much any soundtrack that he's worked on and I've listened to has always had songs that have impacted me in some sort of way. Paprika, Millennium Actress, Paranoia Agent, and of course, Berserk. But not just this 97 adaptation, but pretty much any Berserk adaptation after. Even the video games too. Because of his work on this 97 soundtrack, Susumu has become synonymous with Berserk. To the point that Susumu has been connected to Berserk before it was even adapted into an anime. The legend himself, Kentaro Miura, rest in peace, was a fan of Susumu's work and would actually listen to his music as he would illustrate Berserk. It was actually Miura himself who asked for Susumu in specific to be the composer of the anime and some of the video games. Looking through Susumu's career, he's very innovative and musically versatile. When he first picked up the guitar in 5th grade, he was inspired by surf and instrumental rock. Then in junior high, he would make a progressive rock band, which he would then again later reform into an electric rock band called P-Model. But that band also had elements of post-punk and experimental rock. My point is, he's never stuck to one sound or one genre. He's always made the effort to make each of his albums sound distinct and unique from each other. Much like your Kanye Wests or your Tyler the Creators. Yeah, I just referenced Ye and Tyler in a Berserk video in correlation to Susumu Hirasawa. Welcome to the internet Pitstop. And I think this versatility helped so much with his later soundtrack work, especially with Berserk. He can all at once make these haunting soundscapes that I'll never play alone at night, while at the same time making these blood-pumping, chest-hair-inducing, Giga-Chad war themes, while also making one of the most personal, touching, and reflective songs ever. And now that you know a little bit about the man behind the music, let's actually get into the Berserk 97 soundtrack, starting with Behelit is the first track, probably because it's the most used track throughout the anime, but it's always used well, mainly because it's such a perfect, unsettling tune. It just creates this fucking eerie, haunting, and intriguing-ass atmosphere. And what creates that intriguing atmosphere is, throughout the whole track, you're hearing this one ostinato, or for people who don't know what that means and had to look it up like I did, a repeating phrase in music. Those very beginning notes that are just plucking and building throughout the whole song. It creates this feeling as if you're slowly uncovering the secrets of a dark world and slowly peeling back each layer of the onion. Secrets that you as a human shouldn't know but can't help but want to find out about. And when that motherfucking flute hits, it's like staring at the abyss for way too long, and it just works for so many different moments of the show.
As for the whole point of Behelit, I think it was made to ultimately lead to this scene. And I think every use of it before that is to backdrop situations that will lead to this moment. Anything that hints to the eclipse or Griffith's destiny, really. The first time Guts ever draws blood from someone, making him who he becomes, which is something that Griffith will take a liking to. Guts in self-defense killing Gambino, which leads him to leave to go on his own, which of course will lead him to Griffith, where of course this theme plays again as Guts is losing to Griffith, which will get him to join the Band of the Hawk. And of course it plays again after Zod tells Guts why he should worry about being so close to Griffith. Each time it's played, the song is hinting to this. Just like the Behelit was destined to come to its owner, the song plays at moments that lead to the destiny of the eclipse. It plays when Griffith tells Guts about the assassin mission he wants him to do. The song then plays as Guts accidentally murders someone who reminded him of himself as a child, and the impact of that haunting him, which he did this all for Griffith, which would only add to the assault of the later wound of hearing Griffith's speech about what he thinks is a true friend, which of course would lead to Guts leaving and Griffith getting imprisoned, and it once again plays again as Guts is helping him get out of the prison, because that will eventually lead to the song playing again as Griffith having this vision of having himself reminding him of his dream, his destiny, which will then lead to, you get my point. Behelit is a song that foretells the dark future to come, and it plays at every moment that will eventually lead to Griffith's destiny. It is a masterful foreshadowing tune. And when you actually get to that dark, terrible moment of the show that this song has been hinting to,
it just hits differently now because I can't help but associate it with that cold, unfeeling stare that Griffith has always had, but now is backed up by this song in this moment. Suddenly, everything about him makes sense. Ghost is the exact opposite side of Behelit. While yes, much like Behelit, this shit slaps, but unlike Behelit, it's so underused. It's only used once in the entire show. Only in the very first episode, as the Snake Apostle is just wreaking havoc throughout the town. And I love that it's completely interrupted the moment Guts comes in, almost like he's putting an end to the chaos of the tune. My guess is the point of the song was to be the background for whenever apostles are just tearing shit up. And I think the reason it's titled Ghost is to allude to those many victims of these apostles, as you can kind of hear their ghostly screams as they're all perishing to them. In fact, pretty much throughout the entire song, you can hear a faint ghostly screaming or howling, and I think the fact that it's only used for one episode makes perfect sense. So you'll come to find out that pretty much every song on this soundtrack has a reason to fit. It's all very intentional. So I think it was only used once because it was made to fit the future arcs of Berserk after the Golden Age. That's why it's only in the very first episode, because only the very first episode takes place in the Black Swordsman arc after the Golden Age. It's made more to give you a taste of the more apostle-filled future arcs of Berserk's world. You could totally imagine this soundscape not only for the rest of Black Swordsman arc, but also parts of Lost Children as well. It's a super intense song, but it's also very haunting. It has this primal rampaging in your ear. I can totally hear this behind like a Doom soundtrack or something. Like, imagine slaying demons to this shit. Or could you imagine being chased by a demon and then this shit starts playing? But I can't lie. As I'm seeing these villagers, slowly dying to the hands of the apostles, their town burning to ashes as they scream out in pain, I cannot help but to fucking vibe out. Cause this shit, like if apostles had some crazy ass acid-filled rave Devilman dance parties. Like, this would definitely be a crowd pleaser. Now, this is probably the worst song on the soundtrack, mainly because it doesn't really fit with the rest of the soundscape. It sounds like some music I'd hear in some like shitty 2000s free-to-play fantasy MMO game as I'm like making my character. It sounds like someone tried to make a RuneScape song, but no. But as I said before, the soundtrack is very intentional, and so is this song. It being such a standout and not fitting with the rest of the soundtrack makes perfect sense in context to the show, considering this is the song that is played in the ballroom hosted by the upper class living aristocrats. This song is unfitting because this place and this whole fake upper class living doesn't fit with our characters. Both Guts and Casca emphasize just how much this doesn't work with them. It sounds generic and fake because that's what both this ball and the aristocrats behind it were. Fake. This ball is supposed to represent high-class living, all uppity and proper-like. But as soon as you find out that they have this plan to kill Griffith just because he's common-born, you see that them, much like this ball, is all a front. This high properness isn't real.
The song is out of place in the soundscape of the soundtrack, much like our characters are out of place in the setting that the song is made for.
So while yes, ultimately the weakest of the soundtrack, but still very fitting and very much going along with the intention of the soundtrack. Alright. We're here. I mainly hear this song linked to sadness or depression, and I'm not here to say that that interpretation is wrong. You know, it's music. You can interpret it however you want. And I do agree there is hints of sadness here, but I just think it's an understatement to just simply call it that, a sad song. Much like the character it's named after is multi-layered and can fit through so many different emotions. The song perfectly sums up Guts' feelings and emotions and personality. That's why it's not a heavy metal, dick-swinging, shredding guitar solo. It's reflective, it's sad, but it's hopeful. It sounds like the music you hear when you realize that things are gonna be okay. The piano keys mixed in with that almost spacey, watery, like moving around sound, I don't really know how to explain it, help build the atmosphere of the opening parts of the song that will carry over throughout it. For me, I imagine this opening part of the song being when you're just really fucking sad in life. And then when those echoey, distant, muffled vocals come in, it's like being in a sad fog, but seeing a light at the end of the tunnel that sure kinda seems far away, but it also seems just close enough where if you just keep moving forward, you can make it out of this. Then when the song hits its climax, it's like finally reaching out of that fog, and suddenly things are gonna be okay. Those distant vocals almost being like people trying to reach out to you and pull you out the fog have now completely reached your eardrums. It sounds like a big realization. You finally crossed the fog. You're reflecting on your emotions and who you are and what your purpose is and how you're gonna keep moving forward. You're stronger now, and suddenly you're fucking levitating in your bedroom. You're in tears. Oh. It beautifully complements any scene that it's in and makes it a million times better. Like the scene where Guts comes back after leaving the Band of the Hawk, and all his raid crew comes up to him and tells him that they want to work with him and they want to be led by him. And he says,
"Perhaps this is what I was looking for my whole life. I didn't realize it until this very moment. But everything I wanted back then is right here before me now. Why don't I ever realize what I have until it's lost to me?"
Or when Guts and Casca are having one of the only moments of consensual love throughout the whole series, and he's telling her that he just wants to keep holding her 1,000 more times, and the music is just soaring and like a fucking magic carpet ride through the skies. It's so fucking beautiful, goddamn. It's insane to me that this theme could fit Guts so perfectly because he's such a multi-layered character, because of how many emotions he has and how fleshed out he is as a person. It's much more than sad. It's a whole range of emotions. It's an emotional roller coaster. It's taking you from melancholic to sad, to depressed, to the abyss. Then you're listening to Drake. Fucking slowed and reverb that shit.
So cry if you need to.
And then you get introspective, and then you reach acceptance, and then you find hope, and then you're transcending. Like, I'm sorry, Susumu must have had some contact with somebody, because this song fits Guts way too well. Or maybe he read the manga himself and dissected Guts like all us other dorks on the fucking internet. It's easily my favorite piece of work that Susumu has ever done. It's one of the most fitting themes, if not the most fitting theme of any character ever. Which either means Susumu really understood Guts, or he's a fucking musical genius. Probably both. It's just such a real human song that not only can depict the life of Guts, but could reflect on our own lives as well. It could be the sound of all the moments and feelings we all go through in life. When we feel comfort or solace. When we start understanding our purpose, our dreams, and our self-worth. Introspection and find hope. When we find friendship or intimacy or love. It's a song that I think represents humanity, which fits Guts as a character because he's so fleshed out. He feels like a real human being. It's much more than a song. To me, it is the anthem of humanity and the struggle we all go through. So I kind of want to talk about how this song actually helped me pretty recently. When I listen to it, mostly it's because I'm sad, but I don't like go to it to like listen to it to be more sad. Like, you all know what I mean. You know, when you're being a sad little bitch boy and you kind of just want to bathe in your sadness, so you listen to some more sad music, like, I don't know, maybe you put on some Frank Ocean or some shit. But I turn to this when I don't want to be sad anymore. When
I just want to be happy.
it helps me reflect and find hope and move forward from my sadness. Not to be sad or angry, but to find the beauty within the silver linings of my life. And honestly, the reason that there's a month gap between this vid and the last one is, yeah, I fucking hate my job. My full-time job, that is. I love doing this, okay? It makes me feel miserable, like I'm a robot repeating the same day again and again and again on a endless assembly line. And when I would come home from that, I just couldn't muster the energy or drive to force myself to create a video. I was just exhausted. But then I would listen to this theme, and I'd hang out with people that mean the most to me.
And of course, hours of just vigorously petting my dog.
And then I was able to pick myself up and start making this video again. So I know I can always depend on this theme to help remind me that at the end of the day, we're all strugglers, and if there's anything that any of us can do, it's try to move forward. If the Guts theme was about hope, then this is the opposite of that. This song perfectly backdrops probably the darkest moment in all of fiction. It is the sound of the eclipse and all of the emotions and chaos that come with that. The hopelessness, the dread, the madness, the horror, the void, the mayhem. Other synonyms. Unlike future arcs, the Golden Age is very grounded in reality, with only small hints that there's some weird supernatural shit going down. And the Eclipse is kind of that moment that everything about Berserk's world changes, and all of that supernatural demonic shit. It's right in your fucking face. And this song perfectly depicts that otherworldly evil here. And the moment is only strengthened by the fact that the 97 adaptation of Berserk perfectly nailed the eclipse better than any other adaptation after it. Might be a hot take, but I think it's done better here than even in the manga. The stellar art in that picturesque style that brings all these dark moments to life in very gruesome detail. And then of course this song adding to that. And on top of that, this song more than any other shows just how strong Susumu Hirasawa is at building up a song. A lot of his songs do this, but this one just perfectly depicts that feeling of darkness and evil just building and slithering to the surface. It's a 9-minute song, so it's a lot of build up.
The song starts almost silently, but slowly builds, almost like a dark omen coming to fruition, with these very ominous sounding strings, and then you start to hear this like weird bubbling kind of sound. Then, as the chaos of the eclipse starts unfolding, more of our main characters begin to be murdered, the song gets more and more chaotic, and the pace of it just keeps getting faster and faster, slowly adding more instruments. You get a pounding drum that becomes the whole main center point of the song, until it cuts out completely. And then, when the song hits its climax, you get the synthesizer louder than ever, going faster than ever, and you get these uneasy, disturbing, evocative ass sounding vocals. And then the drums come back, and it all adds to the majesty of the eclipse, the grandiose doom of the eclipse.
It's that feeling of you already know it's over. It's hopeless. There is no coming back from this. You're fucked. Except if you have a magical, mysterious skull knight on a horse to save you. Fear is a lot more of a foreboding track than Murder is. It's a perfect theme when evil and doom and shit has just arrived at your doorstep. It's that theme that kicks in when you just beat a boss in a Souls game and you're sweating, you're throwing up, and you're crying, and your floor is covered in teeth shavings from all the grinding you just did from the stress. But it's over, you know, you beat the boss. Why? Why is there a phase 2? It's titled Fear because I think it perfectly depicts that feeling of fear that you feel right before anything actually happens, but you know some shit's about to go down. Because nowhere is it more perfectly used than in the moment that the God Hand shows up. That's why it's basically become the God Hand theme. You got the demons hyping them up ahead of time. This is basically their WWE walk-in intro.
It works best here in the entrance of the God Hand because this should be the most terrifying thing that any of these characters have ever witnessed. So this track backdropping that, it perfectly embodies the true fear of this moment.
Cool little note though, I love how this song is actually used in the very first episode especially. You got the Snake Apostle kind of beating Guts and making him look all fearful, so of course this song is playing, but as soon as Guts starts fighting back and he gets the Snake Apostle to the floor, fucking shooting arrows at him, the Snake Apostle is now fearful of Guts. And again, you're hearing the theme of fear, but now it kind of fits more to Guts. This man Uno reversed a theme that was made for the Apostles back on the Apostle. That is some crazy shit. Monster, I think, is a song that is meant to be used as a theme for when you as a human uncover something truly that doesn't make sense to you. As if the thing you're seeing is so unsettling and horrifying and otherworldly that it shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be seeing this. I love how the beginning starts with that, like, creepy metal, like, clanking kind of factory sounds. Then slowly you start to hear more instruments and it creates this eerie apprehension to the song. And then once the song erupts, you're just hearing all these strange, unfamiliar ass sounds. And then it adds this drum pattern that I, with my limited vocabulary, cannot explain. So, like a little monkey, I'm just gonna fucking show it to you what I mean. It does this really fast, like, drum roll into a clap, like a and it works so well because the Golden Age arc is so grounded in reality. So when something unfamiliar does show up, a real, like, demonic ass monster is in front of you, and this theme matches that perfectly. It's mostly remembered for its use in the scene where Guts and Griffith fight Zod, and it works really well here. It comes on as soon as Guts starts realizing just what Zod is, and it helps build him up as this impossibly intimidating fucking monster. But in my opinion, I think it works even better in this one very underappreciated scene of Berserk. When Ricker comes back to the camp and he sees another one of the Band of the Hawk members just kind of floating in the abyss, and then you hear the song slowly creep up on you. And as the scene goes on, you start to slowly see just what is behind the dark abyss of this fucking otherworldly ass monster, and the song is just getting louder and louder as Rickard's situation is just getting worse and worse. This scene alone, with the color choices and the shots and the overall hopelessness of it, it's already great, but this song only adds to the mood and atmosphere of it. It really creeps you the fuck out. Earth is probably the most underrated song on the entire OST. I never hear too many people talk about it. It is this absolutely mystifyingly beautiful ass song, almost angelic like. It reminds me of reaching Skellige in Witcher 3. Or reaching the very top of a mountain when you're playing an open world game. It's got these lovely harps just kind of plucking along throughout the song. And then you hear these dual vocals, a female vocal that sounds very angelic and transcending, and then a more deeper male vocal that just kind of complements hers. And then their vocals gorgeously just start to coalesce together, and then, is that a fucking bagpipe? Yes, that is a fucking bagpipe. It creates this dreamlike, tranquil, nostalgic atmosphere that just puts me at peace. Play this at my fucking funeral, please. And then it slowly fades into this like techno-esque music, and the bagpipes are still going like on top of the techno. Who would have thought to put a techno percussion and some bagpipes? Fucking Susumu Hirasawa. That's who. He said, fuck it, bagpipes go with everything. This man is insane. He's a genius. I love this man. I feel it's called Earth because the song, especially because of those bagpipes, feels so grounded and homey and comforting, if you will. It's that feeling of just laying your head on grass and looking up at the sky as the clouds are just moving ever so slowly. It's that feeling of taking time to smell the flowers, to really appreciate the beauty of a moment. It's a song that I think represents the things or the people or the moments that bring us back to Earth, that plant our feet firmly on the ground and remind us that we're alive. Whether that be moments like Guts discovering his first real ever hint to friendship or camaraderie with this beautiful moment where the Band of the Hawk praises him, or with those scenes of Guts and Griffith growing closer together, showing Guts his first real friendship ever, or the very last moment that the song is used in, when Guts is just laying on that aged yellow grass looking at his sword. He finally has understanding that he's alive. This sword is proof to his reality, to his place on the earth. Guts is alive. Ah, man, I love Berserk. I'm so happy it's coming back. Oh my fucking god. Let's fucking talk about forces. Holy shit, this song. This is the ultimate, like, going to battle war song. Get fucking hyped and your blood boiling ever. It's mostly used during specific fights and raids that the Band of the Hawk has. And you totally get why. This song just pounds away like horses trampling into war. This song can literally make anything seem badass. The performance is legendary. The song is huge, it's grand, it's awe-inducing, it's fucking triumphant as fuck. That blood-pumping hook of hi. It is the most goosebump-inducing, all the hairs on my asshole standing up shit I've ever heard. I feel like I can do anything when I hear the song. Put me in a ring with Goku, my evil Giga Chad no-neck brother, and fucking God, and play this shit, I will win. I will fucking win. This song makes me want to punch myself to death, go to hell, meet Satan, punch him to death, then meet God and have him thank me for punching Satan to death, then punch God. The song makes me want to go out and fight a war, but only using my fists. Then after winning that war with just my fists, come back to my poor village family just woefully awaiting for my return, and punch them all to death. And when you read the translated lyrics of this song, they don't disappoint. They truly fit the majesty of this song. Imagine you're in war and you hear these lyrics. Time assaults us with towering waves. I answer to the fading voices traveling through the night roads. I think this alludes to time being fickle and moving on without you whether you like it or not, and you answering to those fading voices, maybe to the soldiers in this war that lost their lives. I will never forget about you on this road of unfulfillment. I still stand alone. Like a wounded bird, I endure the rain with grace. Whew. I love that lyric. I think those two verses are saying that as you continue on the struggle of life, not only will you endure that struggle, but you won't forget those fallen soldiers who lost their lives. Awash in the blood of the wounded earth, we sleep, O stars, grandly recount the events of this night. I will never forget about you. I simply exist alone in this freezing night. I think this is just more adding to the idea of your fallen soldiers laying on a destroyed battleground that this war has been taking place in, but that not only you, but even the stars will remember this battle and the ones that lost their lives during the battle. O unfading voices, revive now to your full strength. Those last lines, specifically the words unfading voices, again allude to those soldiers that might have died, but you won't forget about them. And now they will, in a sense, revive to their full strength to help you fight on in this war. I get the feeling that this song is saying that even if these soldiers died in a war, it doesn't mean that they died for nothing, that their deaths meant something. Fun fact, I was playing Dark Souls 3 and got stuck on the Nameless King boss for like ever. But after the millionth time of getting a spear shoved up my asshole, I decided to mute the music of the game and play Forces. And I fucking won. And with that, we've reached the end of the soundtrack, and you're starting to ask, tell me why, tell me why, tell me. I'm not talking about the ending or opening theme. It's because I mainly wanted to focus on the more Susumu Hirasawa, composed songs of the soundtrack, as I think they hold a lot more connection to the show itself. But if you are now just soaking wet, been waiting with your grasses on for me to talk about the opening, I actually do in my very first video ever where I talk about anime openings, so that's there if you want it. This soundtrack is such a legendary piece of Berserk that I think props up this adaptation to an exceptional level. I honestly think this is a fantastic adaptation of Berserk and that any fan who's read the manga should definitely watch. Gah! Nani? A Giga Chad Thundercock manga reader? No!
Sorry, pleb. As someone clearly better than you, I'm not gonna watch the anime or listen to its OST.
Personally, I think the manga has a better soundscape.
What? It's more than just music or songs or tracks on an OST. These are all part of what makes Berserk's world whole. The mystery, the mayhem, the politics, the humanity, the horror, the dread, the uncanny, the friendship, the war. This is the sound of Berserk. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you all enjoyed me going through the entire soundtrack and talking about it, and hopefully we'll enjoy more videos like this. Please comment down any of your favorite tracks from the OST, and feel free to comment down any recommendations of OSTs. They don't have to be from anime. You can recommend TV show soundtracks, movie soundtracks, video game soundtracks, whatever you want. And of course, if you like what I do, you can always leave a like and a subscribe. That will really help me get to my goal of 10,000 subscribers. But with all of that being said, thank you so much for coming to this little pit stop on the corner of the internet. Peace.